In Greek culture, story became history, and history became hysteria. That's the fall of humanity, turning everything literal, mistaking stories for facts, fears for truth, ideas for reality. That's the core difference. Hebrew, by contrast, brings us back with every word to reality, to truth. Not always comfortable, not always gentle, but just. In every Hebrew word, you'll find the sacred triad, the thing itself, its opposite, and the middle point, truth. Greek lives on the left side of your brain. A little pressure, a little fear, and the mind starts inventing stories to explain what it doesn't understand. But shift that emotional impulse to the right side, to feeling, to sensation, to the realm of imagination. And fear becomes art. Art is born from emuna, from faith. That's how the art of belief was born. The belief that if you repeat something enough times, it begins to feel true. That's how democracy was born too. The idea that when enough people agree, it must be right. And many other systems of thought that still shape the way we live today. It took me a long time to release this video. I try not to take part in the culture of who has the bigger God, or in this case, Greek versus Hebrew, who has more words. When it comes to vocabulary, Greek clearly wins. It's the language of man, of endless attempts, of frantic striving to describe what he doesn't truly understand. Hebrew is simple. It's distilled. It holds exactly what's needed. And if you happen to be in a space of expansion, within the root of each word, there's a built-in mechanism that takes you straight into the infinite. In this video, we'll explore some of those mechanisms. But first, I need to say this. The information on this channel is not just another product for sale, not something you buy and then use to argue. Hebrew proves that everyone is right, that everyone is included in the story. And Greek, believe it or not, that's God speaking to us. Maybe so we can finally understand him, not through words, but through reality itself, the one he brings into being constantly. That's the true meaning of YHWH. And Yavan, Greece, it's the part of him that descended down here. It's the seed of the entire Christian idea of the sun, and it's encoded in the Hebrew word Yavan. It's all there, in the words. Let's begin. The very first appearance of the letter sequence that forms the word Yavan, Greece, is found in the book of Genesis. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yavan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. At first glance, it's just a list of descendants. But in Hebrew, there are no neutral names. Each son is not only a nation, but a code, a direction, a spiritual trajectory embedded in language. B'nai, sons of, comes from the root, to build. Every son is also a blueprint. Japheth, the father, is the ancestor of beauty, Yaphe, expansion, and outward civilization, the aesthetic, rational, cultural world. Yavan, Greece, is the outgrowth of that line. Beauty turned outward, logic elevated above mystery, the externalized sacred, but the depth is already encoded in the word itself. Flip the letters of Yavan and you get noi, a Hebrew word for ornament, graceful beauty, often referring to landscaping, gardening, or beautifying the outer world. Still part of nature, but tamed. Controlled beauty, designed nature. This matches how Yavan evolves in the Psalms. He lifted me out of the roaring pit, out of the slimy mud, out of the Yavan. Psalm 43. I sank in the deep mud of Yavan, and there was no foothold. Psalm 69:3. In both cases, Yavan is not just a nation. It's a state of being, a sticky, sinking consciousness. Not just mud, but a deep, aesthetic trap. A noise-filled pit of stories and surface beauty that pulls us downward. And the Hebrew word teva, nature, shares a root with to sink, litboa, to imprint, hatba, and seal, tabat, a ring. Nature in Hebrew is not innocent. It bears the imprint of divine intention, but also the danger of gravity, the pull into form, into forgetting. Unlike many cultures where nature means purity and origin, Hebrew encodes tension between form and formlessness, between the divine seal and the drowning. Nature is a circular force, a kind of ordered chaos. It has no will of its own, no choice, and operates like a mechanism governed from above. Humanity can apply pressure, manipulate it, shape it from the outside, but we cannot decide its fate. Nature contains Yavan within it. And Yavan is the square inside the circle. It's the illusion of freedom, the illusion of choice, the illusion of linear time. The grids we live in are made of points, discrete, limited markers, and we see reality through those points. We think in fragments. Even the past, what has already happened, we struggle to describe it clearly, to tell it straight. The future, even more elusive. But the hardest thing to see is what's right in front of us, the present moment, the now. And here, the Hebrew letters themselves reveal the code. Yod, a single point, origin, precision. Vav, an open thread, infinite connections. The illusion of options. Nun, the fall, the descent into form, into the twisted world of the serpent's consciousness. The one who knows he lacks and yet keeps striving anyway. That is Yavan, a system of logic and vision built inside the circle of nature, but always falling short of wholeness. The signs are everywhere. Where there's a story, there's testimony. Not because Hebrew is the truth, but because it knows how to reflect it, to sift it, to name what's already there. Hebrew kept in the Torah is the antidote. It holds the formula for release, to see how to untie, to perceive clearly, to loosen what is bound. Not a book of rules, not a manual of do's and don'ts, not morality, not human law. It guards the truth within its letters. It is an open code. It adapts across time. It waits for the final solution, for what lies beyond translation, beyond conclusion, beyond the force that tries to silence the chaos. Until then, Yavan continues, it spreads. It baptized the world in light so bright it blinded us. A spotlight, a glare, a hardness, like a skin, a form that no longer hears the divine. What began as beauty became stiff with confusion, a kingdom of mirrors, of mixed truths, of everything and nothing. This is the illusion of order, a square inside a circle, a system pretending to be free. It's called democracy. It's called identity. It's called rights, desires, and personal truth. But it is a fall, descent, decline, by design under cover of the evening, the erev, the Hebrew word for mixture, for evening, for arousal. Erev holds it all, confusion, seduction, distortion. It gave birth to the Erev Rav, a mixture with no center, a collective with no covenant, a body with no soul. This is the time after the flood. And then comes the dove, Yonah from the same root, sent to bear witness, to say there is still dry land, there is still a place to stand. The world is built on numbers, 0 and 1. It's hard to grasp, but this is the key to the riddle 1, the creator. 0, the creation, standing side by side in perfect unity, and the code opens like a gate, we are still far within this count, a count that moves forward and backward at once. Right now, we are deep inside the number 4. Every Hebrew word tells the story of time and of the one who holds and turns the clock.